The push to fight violent crime in America's cities getting the attention of the president this week, who in his budget proposal requested a more than $30 billion increase in funds to help police departments nationwide.
And that got us wondering what is happening to cities that a few years ago reduced traditional police funding in response to the murder of George Floyd. Joe St. George takes an in-depth look.
A lot of cities talked about defunding the police. You guys actually did it.
We did, yeah.
Let's go for a walk, shall we, with City Councilman Jack Hansen. He doesn't represent you, but he does represent Burlington, Vermont. I get it, this isn't where you live, but it can give your town unique perspective on how the police funding debate in our country is going. After the police protests and outcry in 2020, Jack and other city leaders here told police they needed to cut around 30 positions, a 30% cut.
As people would leave, we wouldn't replace them.
2 years later, how's it going?
It's been mixed.
Opinions now vary. The police chief told me officers have either retired or decided to work elsewhere. Recruitment has been challenging. Now, only 60 officers are able to respond to calls. That's around 20 short of what independent studies and even many city councilmen want.
Gun incidents are up, burglaries.
Kelly Devine runs the business association here and says a lack of police has resulted in a rise in unsolved petty theft and vandalism, which impacts business.
This downtown needs to be for everybody. It needs to be for families, young children.
So is defunding still happening?
We got into a situation where we just didn't have enough public safety response.
Jack, who voted to defund the police 2 years ago, actually voted in recent months to give $800,000 worth of retention and sign-on bonuses to officers. There's a separate effort to create more police positions, too. This shift is happening around the country. New York City voted to cut funding too in 2020. 2 years later, it has increased following a spike in violent crime. In Minneapolis, there were initial cuts. Now, more funding. In Baltimore, a similar story. As a sign of how much has changed, President Biden this week put a $30 billion increase in police funding in his budget.
Ultimately, I think we are moving in the right direction.
Back in Burlington, Jack doesn't want you to think the defund movement was a complete failure. Programs to help the mentally ill got improved nationwide, and police budgets are now better scrutinized.
A huge change was made in a short amount of time.
In Burlington, Vermont, I'm Joe St. George.